Hello, my name is Dr. Wyatt Cox here at Reason and Faith Together Ministries at the RAFT. Thank you so much. Appreciate you watching this PowerPoint lecture. I'm going to be talking about Christian leadership principles in this lecture. I'd be glad to hear from you. You can see my email address there on the left, down at the bottom. Be glad for you to contact me. And if you would, always glad when someone subscribes to my channel. So I'm going to be talking about leadership principles from a Christian perspective. And the Bible has a lot to say about this. And there's some good points to make in just in basic leadership principles that are a lot of times I think are lacking in our churches and some of our Bible schools and institutes. And just sometimes it's lacking when children are being raised to understand and be able to apply these basic principles. And we need that. We need to understand what it means to be a leader and how to develop our next generation of leaders, but also people that are currently serving as leaders to be more effective. So I want to talk about leadership in general and then kind of go in specific about some of these qualities and these points to make. And some of them are pretty basic, but the Bible just has a lot to say about it. And some people are amazed about that because, oh, I didn't know the Bible addressed this issue. It really does. So we'll be looking at those things. So who is a leader? Parents are. Raising children, it takes leadership to do that, to do it effectively. Business owners, you've got a budget, you've got employees, effective leadership is required. It's crucial. Military officers, head of the house, whoever that may be, could be a little bit different than a traditional parent structure. Pastors or leaders, law enforcement officers, teenagers in high school, for example, may be the captain of a team or maybe the president of their class, and that's leadership. And this helps develop their leadership skills. Medical professionals, elected officials, and the list can go on. But it just goes to show you that a lot of people are leaders or should be leaders and can be leaders, and people shouldn't be afraid of being a leader. They should really, if that's what God wants in their life, they should embrace that. So, what is an effective leader? I guess that's a good question to ask. And for me, one of the effective things about leadership is it uses influence, not control or power, but influence, and that's the key thing. And its influence is to excite people, it's to inspire people, so that they want to be part of whatever that leader is doing and whatever the vision of that leader has, the mission and the objective. They want to be part of it. An effective leader uses influence to accomplish that. It's not about control or power. It's influence. Now, on a rare occasion, parents with small children, parent has to say, because I said so. There's control. But in the military, because the colonel said so. And yes, we may have that. But by and large, in almost all cases, effective leadership is not about that. It's about influence. So what does an effective leader really do? If I was going to name a few points, and here I will, a leader creates a safe environment. A parent has to have a safe environment for the children to live in, a safe home. May have to decide on what neighborhood to live in to be safe, but that's leadership. A mayor wants a safe city to live in and may have to be involved in, law enforcement and things like that. So maintaining a safe environment, it depends on how you scale it up, from being a parent to being a governor or being the president of the United States. Creating a safe environment for people is a part of leadership. And creating opportunities to prosperity. And you want your children to grow up to be autonomous. They can have jobs and careers and, earn decent wages or living, decent amount of salaries and that kind of thing. You want prosperity. Companies want their employees to prosper. So prosperity, whether it's a church, it's a business, etc., a leader is looking for a way for the people he or she leads to have a prosperous environment. A good leader, effective leader, offers challenges so others can grow. Parents do that to their children. They should give them a challenge, that they have to work through that challenge. They have to think about it. They got to put out some effort. and then they rise to the occasion. They handle the challenge, and then they've learned a lot and they've grown a lot. They've matured from it. Employers do that. They give junior employees more difficult assignments, for example, so they can grow and learn and be more of an asset to the company, to a better asset of the team they're on. You want them to learn and grow, and you got to give them a challenge for that. That's part of effective leadership. Those that need help, and we all do in a church, in a company, there are some employees that need some help, maybe with training, maybe with the team they're on doing their job, 100 different things. And the leader is aware of these things. The leader is able to get that assistance. You know, a leader creates opportunities so other people can develop their leadership. An effective leader wants other people to become leaders. Good companies, big companies need multiple leaders at various levels. Churches need that. So you want to create an opportunity so people can develop their leadership skills. And an effective leader will do that. An ineffective leader will have tried to hesitate and not want to go into that direction. And that's sad, because we need more good leaders. And you have to develop that. It's not automatic. And a good leader, effective leader, encourages healthy relationships. You know, a parent, the brothers and sisters get along real well, especially when they grow up and become adults. In a big company, you want employees who work together to have healthy relationships. They're friendly. They may make friends and that kind of thing at work or at church. So you encourage these healthy relationships. And that's very important. You know, lacking or ineffective leadership, what do you see? And this is the contrast, right? An ineffective leader is not going to focus on the strategy. There's just no focus. Not focusing on the vision. And it's easy to see if the person is focused or not. An ineffective leader will not have that focus. So if you don't have that focus as a leader, then there's going to be chaos. There's going to be the structure is going to dissolve. The structure won't exist. It'll be chaotic in the organization, the family, the church, and that becomes the norm. The ineffective leader takes risk without assessing the situation. You know, you look at risk, you look at potential rewards. The ineffective leader does not do that, or an ineffective leader may just take risks that are really high risk, and the potential rewards are quite small. Well, that's not good. Or may just be afraid and not take any risk, regardless of the potential reward, and that's not good. So effective leadership. Followers become despondent and ineffective. I mean, if you don't have an effective leader, you're not going to have effective followers. They're going to become disillusioned, disappointed, and the organization is going to suffer, whatever that is. Resources are squandered, and resources is not just money, it's people as well, and money and people are probably two of the big ones, but ineffective leader is going to not use the finances, their budget very well. Ineffective leader is not going to use their people well, not going to put them in the right place, not going to give them the right position, and it's going to be squandered, your resources. And those that can leave are going to leave. You know, there's going to be some top talent in your business, even some good people in your church. If they're the ineffective leadership, they're going to leave. And then the organization and church is going to suffer even more. So principles. I like this one with the geese. You see the one in front, the leader there, and the others are following, and they got confidence in the leader. They really do. It's really kind of neat to see animals in the wild when they follow their leader. But the different leadership styles, and I don't want to spend too much on this, but a little bit. But there's a command leadership style. If you've been in the military, you know there's you got generals and colonels and sergeants, and they bark out their orders and things like that. And it's necessary in a command structure like the military or the police force and some other things like that. You might need to command structure. By and large, in the world, command is very limited in where it needs to be. But if it is where it needs to be, then it can be very effective. Some people are more like a coach. They coach you, they kind of build you up, and then you go do your work, do your assignments, make decisions. You're kind of the leader, you know. Some people do that, and sometimes that works. You know, it depends on the circumstance. some leaders are just visionary. They just focus on the vision. That's it. They got a vision. And that's all they can look at is the vision. They got other people hopefully surrounding them that takes care of the other things, but they're visionary. Some are autocratic. In other words, it's a one-man show or one-woman show. And some businesses do well with that. A lot don't, but there's some that do. Churches, a lot of times, by and large, smaller churches probably do. Bigger churches could. But some do not do well with that. Some leaders are hands-off. They let the subordinates, the lower-level leaders, kind of handle let them, get those saying that I'll get out of your way so you can do your job. And some leaders take that position philosophically and say, I'm a hands-off person. And sometimes that works. Sometimes that's not an ineffective way of doing it. Sometimes it can be. It does depend. Some participate. They want everybody on board to come together as a group, and we'll reach consensus, we'll vote. And again, that can be effective too. There's nothing necessarily wrong with this. It's just a leadership style. And then some people are just real strategic. They look at big picture. They don't look at details, and they surround themselves with people that do look at the details, hopefully, and that style can be effective too. So different styles can be effective depending on the circumstance. So these are some of the styles. Now, some principles. Let's get to the principles, though. This is really where it's really important. As a Christian, you got to understand the primary purpose of your leadership, and that'd be in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 5 and 6. And he said, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. And these words which I command you today shall be in your heart." So as a person, as a Christian, and as a leader, you need to understand the purpose of your leadership. And when you're leading people, when you're leading organizations, you got to have the love of the Lord for that, or it's not what it should be. Number 2, you dedicate yourself to the Word of God. An effective Christian leader is going to do that. He or she is going to be immersed in the Word of God, because that's the writings, that's the revelation God has given us, and we get into the Word of God, because that's going to be where a lot of our wisdom will come from, a lot of our information will come from, at least principles come from this. A lot of value comes when you immerse yourself in the Word of God. You need to be confident about the source of your vision. If you're whatever you do as unto the Lord. If the God has put you where you are, you need to be confident about that. Nehemiah chapter 7, verse 5. You need to know who to trust. A good leader has to know who to trust. And you could commit your way to the Lord, trust also in Him. Ultimately, you got to trust the Lord. You got to trust God as a leader. Now, you're going to trust other people, but you do have to know who to trust, and ultimately, you got to trust the Lord. I like this one here about the elephants. And I've seen elephants cross one time a river in Africa. I went to this picture, but it was very similar. And you got the lead elephant, and then you got the followers. And again, out in the wild, you got animals, you got leadership, and you see it very, very clearly. It's kind of amazing to see how some of these animals have to react to their leaders, and the need they have. They have to have their leaders, because their leaders is going to give them safety, take them to food, different things, and they wouldn't really exist without that good leadership. Good leaders are going to appreciate the value and importance of wise counsel. That's Proverbs chapter 11, verse 14. Good leaders understand, they grasp what God requires of your leadership. And he says right here, what does the Lord require of you but to love mercy and to walk humbly with your God. So as a leader, as a Christian leader, these are things that's going to be on your mind. It motivates you or directs you on your philosophical approach to leadership and how you execute your leadership, how you exhibit it. These are some of the principles that are important. You got to understand that it's God who appointed you as leader. Where you're at is because God put you there. And Ephesians chapter 4, verse 1. A good leader knows he gets his strength or her strength from God. He says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians chapter 4. Christian leaders acknowledge these basic principles. Now, here's another picture of geese, and you see the leader out in front. Some of these flocks, lots of geese, they following that one leader. Pretty amazing to see. But they get to where they need to go, and they get there safely. Good leaders, Christian leaders recognize their power source. It comes from God. It comes from God. Matthew chapter 7. And they live by the golden command that you shall love the Lord with all your heart. Effective Christian leaders, these are the principles that they subscribe to. And it's one of the main things that makes them effective leaders. But let's go to the specific things here. And there's some points I want to talk about. One is the qualities or characteristics of an effective leader. One is he or she is trustworthy. You can trust that person. That person will not deceive you, will not lie to you, will not do things crooked or underhanded. You can have 100% confidence in that person being trustworthy. If you don't have that, if a leader is not 100% trustworthy, then he's ineffective. There can be no doubt in a person's mind about trusting that person, because you're not going to follow somebody you can't trust, right? I mean, it's not going to happen. An intentional deception or omission of the truth, I mean, the relationship's destroyed. Nobody wants to be a follower and follow a leader who is deceptive or intentionally leaves out the truth and that kind of thing. It's probably the number one thing here is that person completely trustworthy. A leader takes initiative, you know that? A leader doesn't just sit around thinking and researching. A leader takes the initiative and takes action. He doesn't rely on the initiative of others to fulfill the vision. And really, probably most things you can delegate as a leader. You cannot delegate your vision. You can't delegate your initiative. Without initiative, the followers are not going to follow you. Followers are not going to embrace the leader's vision if the leader doesn't show initiative. Laziness, the leader loses a lot of followers really, really quick. The leader cannot be known for having a lazy streak. He's got or she's got to show initiative. A leader will accept risks. That's part of showing the initiative. A leader will accept risks when they make decisions for the potential rewards when they through. This is part of showing initiative. And you have to have initiative if you're going to be an effective leader. And you also got to use very, very good judgment and use it often. You know, leaders are not necessarily known for being the most smartest people, and they're not. They're not necessarily known for being the most intelligent people, and they're not. You don't have to have a super IQ to be an effective leader. You don't have to be an encyclopedia with legs to be an effective leader. In fact, effective leaders usually realize they're not the smartest one in the group. They try to bring in people into their organization that are smarter than themselves. Good leaders will want to do that. Now, a good leader is a learner. A good leader wants to learn every day. He may read or she may read other sources, talk to people, and learn more and more and more, and they get smarter. But a good leader does not have to be the smartest person in the group. In fact, leadership is not about being the smartest. It's not about having the highest IQ. It's about leadership is about taking action, being responsible for the group, and getting the group to move forward on a vision. A good leader is going to use judgment. In most cases, it's going to be good judgment. Leaders make mistakes, and then you admit to that. You know, you're a human being. There's an old saying is if you're not making mistakes, you're not making anything else. There's some truth to that. But most cases, you exercise your judgment. As you get more and more of that, you get better at it. But the willingness and ability to exercise good judgment is absolutely 100% critical. You cannot substitute that. The way I've got is a leader, strengthens other people. A leader is known for his lifting up or her lifting up of others. You take people that need that help, that need that boost, and leaders are looking out for that and to give that lifting up to others. A leader wants to empower other people. And that's one of the best forms of leadership. If you want influence, if you want to empower, if you want more power, you give it. And it kind of maybe sounds, it may not sound like the way to do it. It may sound, it's not maybe counterintuitive or something like that. But as a leader understands, the more delegation you give, the more authority you give to others, and you empower other people, that is actually generally a sign of really good leadership. The source of the strength, though, comes from the leader of that unit or that business or the family or whatever, the church, whatever it is. The leader is in charge or not in charge, but is responsible. And that's probably one of the biggest things for a person to grow and mature and to be a great leader is to accept responsibility. That's probably one of the hallmark qualities of being an effective leader is accept responsibility. You know, a leader is optimistic. Nobody wants to be around a gloom and doom leader because they're not very effective. It can't be. A leader sees situations as an opportunity, not as a problem. And that's a big thing. Some people, when they see a situation, they think, oh, what kind of a problem we got? A leader thinks, oh, this is an opportunity. How do we figure this out? And that's important. And you know what? Optimism is like a lot of things. It's contagious. It really is. If your leader is optimistic, there's going to be other people become optimistic because it is absolutely contagious. Now, if he's negative or she's negative, that's contagious too. But if the leader is optimistic, it is contagious. But a leader is also a realist, and yet he sees these opportunities. That's important. You be a realist, and yet they'll say an opportunity is knocking at our door. They look for opportunity and they find it. A leader never compromises on the absolutes. There are absolutes in your organization and your family you will not compromise on. Maybe telling the truth, integrity, those kinds of things. You will not do that. In your organization, maybe transparency is one of your absolutes. Product quality could be, it's got to be the top quality, you know, whatever it is in your organization, in your family, in your business, there are absolutes that you identify, and you absolutely play with words, you will not compromise that. It will destroy your relationship if you do. A leader has empathy, and empathy means the ability to share someone else's feelings or experiences by imagining what it'd be like in that person's situation. A leader needs to be able to show some empathy, needs to attempt to emotionally understand what others are experiencing. That is an important part of leadership. You know, leaders are not mechanical, they're not cold. You know, and this kind of leadership of showing empathy can't be faked. It is something, it has to be real. But it's a powerful quality for leaders to have, and they need this quality. A leader has a clear conscience. That's important. Doesn't feel guilty about making the mistakes or decisions or actions. Maybe made mistakes. You maybe regret that, but you try to correct those mistakes. But the actions and deeds are done with integrity. They're done with the right motives. So the leader has a clear conscience. And that is also very critical. You know, a leader is definite and decisive. He doesn't say, I guess, or maybe we should, or I suppose. At some point, a decision has to be made or not made. There's got to be yes or no. Are we going to do this? Are we going to do that? We need to know yes or no. A leader takes that responsibility. It says yes or says no, but assumes that responsibility for that decision. And those decisions a lot of times are final. There's a commitment involved. We're going to spend this money on X, Y, Z. Well, the money's spent on X, Y, Z. That's pretty final. Now, a leader can change his or her mind if the situation changes, information changes. But then there's a commitment to that. There's a commitment involved at that point too. So leaders a lot of times are final, and leaders need to be willing to make that call. That this is what we're going to do, or this is what we're not going to do. A leader knows when to change his or her mind. Sometimes leaders have to change their mind. Situations change, information changes, circumstances unpredictable. It happens. It's life. They can be reversed sometimes. The leader tries to use discernment, and he commits to a different course of action, and with a different objective maybe. Sometimes that happens. Some things are outside of our control, and leaders have to be aware of that and use good judgment when that occurs. You know, a leader accepts difficulty. That's the key thing. Difficult things happen in a family, in a business, in a church, etc. Difficult things happen. A leader says, I will accept this. I will deal with this. I'm responsible for this. He does not advocate, or she does not advocate responsibility just because times are tough. And sometimes they are tough in a business. Do you lay people off? Do you not give raises? A lot of things. In churches, big decisions are made. It affects the membership. It's difficult, but the leader accepts that. So businesses may downsize. Churches may have financial stress. Families might have financial stress. Businesses, you got to make some tough decisions. And the leader is willing to do that. A leader also knows his or her limitations. We all have limitations. That's wisdom, actually, to acknowledge that. A leader surrounds himself or herself with those who can compensate. You know, some people's got qualities and skill sets that I don't have, you don't have. As a good leader, we surround ourselves with people that can compensate for that. That is a sign of wisdom. That's a sign of being a good leader. And a leader understands this thing called The Bridge Too Far. It's based on an old movie. If you ever Google it and you might want to watch the movie, it's a great World War II movie about a group taking out too many bridges in Europe because of the Germans. I'll say it's a World War II movie. And they made a big mistake, and they tried to take too many bridges out, and they had a really, really bad problem, and they went a bridge too far, as the saying goes. A leader is resilient. There's going to be tough times. These tough times are going to cause issues and problems for the business. You know, the old saying is, you're down but not out. The leader may take a fall, but he gets up, she gets up, is resilient. Tough times, you keep going. Tough times, try to get things better. Tough times, you rise to the occasion. You face the challenge and go and do better. Leaders are resilient. A leader holds to the quitters never win and winners never quit. They live by that motto, and they need to. A leader is excited about being a leader. You know that? They love it. They get up in the morning, I'm ready to go. They're excited about the mission and the objectives. Oh, they love it. It's time for action. Let me jump right in the middle of it. Leaders love to do that. They wake up in the morning excited. They're passionate, and that is contagious. A leader has courage. Didn't say bravery, it said courage. Courage is when you're afraid and you still go out and do the right thing anyway. A leader faces the fear, he moves or she moves forward. A leader is not somebody without fear. A lot of times people might think, well, he doesn't, or she doesn't, she's not afraid of anything. Leaders have their fears. They're human beings. They really truly do have fears. But they go forward and do what's right anyway, in spite of that fear. That is good leadership. A leader is discerning. You got to use discernment. You have perceptions. You try to figure things out. Perception in the absence of judgment, with the view of obtaining understanding. Okay, so it may not be looking at this as a judgmental issue, but you're trying to gain understanding. You're trying to understand. And you know, probably one of the most important things about a leader has to understand before he or she is understood. And that's a key thing. Understand first, and then you can be understood. A leader is perceptive with his discernment and tries to connect the dots. You know, some people can connect the dots seem like better than others, but a leader is actively trying to do that. And that is a sign of good leadership. A leader is an active listener. It is a skill that's not learned a lot, but a true leader wants to listen and to understand. And a true leader, I had a colonel one time say, I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm not going to question you, but I'm going to ask you some questions. Good leaders want to understand, and that's why sometimes people maybe get a little upset with their leader because the person says, oh, this leader always asking me questions. Well, a good, effective leader is going to ask questions, but not question you, and that's different. Not going to interrogate you, but question you because the leader is trying to learn. There's things the leader simply doesn't know and needs to learn. So he does that by listening. And a lot of times the leaders, good leaders, the effective leaders have a greater desire to listen than to talk. A leader is disciplined. They don't make their decisions and then go back and do their homework. They're not impulsive. Now that's not the same as whether you make a quick decision or not. Sometimes leaders make quick decisions and they're good decisions. That's not necessarily impulsive. They got their information. They've consulted with a lot of people. They've got good instincts, whatever. There's a difference between making a quick decision and being impulsive. Means you don't think about it. You just got a raw emotion, and you're acting on that raw emotion, and that's usually not really good at all. You use self-control. Leaders do with speech and action. They don't say crude jokes to their employees. They don't insult people, show disrespect. They have self-control with their speech and the leader's energetic. They got energy. How do they do this? How does she do that? All this energy. And leaders are going to have a tremendous amount of energy. And if you don't, if the leader doesn't, not a very effective leader. The leader knows how to delegate. Control people don't, by the way, and that's a terrible thing. Again, leaders should be able to delegate just about everything except except the vision and their excitement and initiative. Other than that, they can delegate. Other than that, they build up other leaders and people, and they delegate that. Why? More stuff gets done when you got more people with authority to do it. And a good leader recognizes that. An effective leader delegates. Managers, for example, may or may not be a good leader. Could be. Managers manage things and processes generally, but they could be. But managers and leaders are totally different at so many different levels. Some people think because they're a manager, they're a leader. Could be, but it's definitely not automatic. Managers probably don't do a lot of delegation, for one thing. Controllers don't delegate. They control, right? The world may not be big, but they control. That's poor leadership. Very, very poor leadership to be a controller. An effective leader actively develops leaders for delegation. You understand how important that is. You know, a leader is Christ-like. Again, these are Christian principles. A leader, whatever she does, it does for the Lord. A leader embraces the fact that we are to exhibit Christ-likeness. So very important. A leader focuses on objectives, not obstacles. A leader is laser focused on the mission. There's a mission, there's an objective, there's a goal. That's where the focus is. Not the obstacles or the challenges, but how you get past all that and how do you accomplish the mission. A leader views these obstacles as something to overcome, not something that'll stop the leader, but something to overcome. And then even after you overcome, there may be a benefit from that. And you know, focusing on obstacles takes away from the leader's time and resources, and for others too. And effective leaders don't do that. They focus on the mission. He empowers or she empowers by example, but they have to lead by example. They have to be willing to take responsibility, to do the tough things, do the mundane things, do the things that needs to be done. And people see that. And they got to lead by example. The leader can't tell people you need to be honest and then the leader gets caught in a lie. Absolutely, the leader has to lead by example. This do as I say and not as I do is an ineffective leader, a terrible leader, and the organization is going to seriously suffer from that. Because when the confidence is lost, the objectives or the goals not going to be accomplished. You know, a leader cultivates loyalty. It's a wonderful thing to have loyalty, but it's got to be earned. It doesn't always come natural. Constant effort's got to be put into that. You got to spend your time with your people, and you cultivate relationships in the right way, and you cultivate that loyalty. Loyal followers are more happier and more productive, and there is no substitute for that. There actually is none. So what are these principles? Acknowledge you are accountable to God. You got to acknowledge that, embrace that. Leadership really should produce humility, not pride or arrogance, but humility. God put you there. God got you in this great thing, right? This great mission or organization or church or family. It's a great privilege. It's a wonderful gift. So it brings about humility. Good leaders understand that they are a servant first, but they are a servant who leads, but they are a servant. They have to understand that, and good Christian leaders, embrace that. Accepting responsibility, which I mentioned, with integrity and humility, it is probably the most fundamental aspect to effective leadership. If a leader just says, well, it's not my fault, whose fault is it? You may have to grasp when something goes wrong, who messed up. And I'm not saying you don't. You've got to quickly do that. But the leader says, it's up to me to fix the problem. That's responsibility. The leader says, I am responsible. May not be at fault, but the responsibility, it's like a captain of a ship. The captain of the ship is responsible for his or her crew. And that is probably the number one thing for a leader, is to accept responsibility. So here at Reason and Faith Together Ministries, I hope this has been helpful. Be glad to hear from you. And I really thank you for listening in on this PowerPoint lecture. And hopefully you will check me out. And if you want to subscribe to my channel, I'd be very thankful for that too. Thank you.